everybody, my name is Noah and I am the day-by-day pagan here on the internet. I thought today would be fun to do another tag. I've enjoyed doing these in the past, and I do have some bigger ideas for projects, for videos in the future, but they are the type of projects where I need to write a whole script, I need to find references and resources, so I thought this would be a chill, fun way for you all to get to know me a little bit and for me to talk to the camera and make a video. So we are going to be doing Ravenflower's 2022 tag. I saw That Witch Tasha do it, so I guess this is kind of a VR to her, and yeah, I am going to get started. I have my coffee here, which is still way too hot to pick up, as it usually is at the beginning of these videos. And I have my phone with the questions listed on it. So the first one is, New Year's resolutions, do you believe in them? Yes and no. I don't think that you need to do New Year's. I think any day you can resolve to do something and, you know, create a new habit out of it. I think they work for some people and not for others. It's something that greatly depends on neurodivergence and neurotypicalness, like how your brain's wired. So I know, you know, they're just not a possibility for some people, because as soon as you make a resolution, it leaves you and you're not going to do it. I like them. I do use them in some ways. I use them for my business. I am an independent artist and I have a business I run from my home. And I use them not so much as resolutions, but more as goals. Like this year, I wanted to take more Skillshare classes. I wanted to, what else did I wanted to do for my business this year? I wanted to do a certain amount of custom commissions, that sort of thing. I wanted to finish a certain project I'm working on. So I do that, but I try and make them things that are like specific and reasonable. Like, for example, for myself, I didn't say I want to be more active this year. I said I want to go on 2 hikes a month. And so far, mid-February, I have gone on 2 hikes in January and 1 in February so far. So those are the sort of resolutions I make. It's not usually things that are not possible. Like, I want to get my book published this year. I'm also a writer. I'm not going to make that a resolution because it's not possible. I would make the resolution, I am going to submit my manuscript to 1 agent every week, and I've done that in the past. And I did not follow through with the entire month for that, but that was just the way the project went. And for a witchy example, I wouldn't say I am going to astral project and meet this deity. I would say, you know, I'm going to start doing XYZ exercises X times a week, you know, so that I can learn to astral project. But the goal itself would be to do the exercise, you know, 3 nights a week or whatever. So yes and no, I guess. I prefer kind of to set one goal at a time and let it go for a month. And once I've done the thing consistently for a month, then I add another one. But we'll talk about that later. I think there are other questions that relate to that. And then number 2 is why or why not? And I suppose I did give a little bit of an answer to that already. It doesn't work for everybody. I think that you don't need to wait until the new year for an arbitrary date to start doing things. I do think it can be helpful to have a specific day where you start the goal, maybe the 1st of the month, or you start it in the morning. That beginning of a cycle can be helpful, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary. So that's questions 1 and 2. Question 3 is, what are your favorite colors? I would say I have a lot of favorite colors. I like bluish gray, grayish blue, however you want to put that. I don't know if you can tell, but the walls in here are kind of a very light blue-gray. So yeah, I like blue-gray, bluish-gray, grayish-blue, and purple. Those were my 2 favorite colors for a long time. Purple is less so a favorite color now, but I still do like a good purple. Right now I would say my main favorite colors are kind of a greeny, dark, indigo-y, almost really dark teal blue, a mustardy yellow, dark rich red, and then I like to throw in a very nice creamy off-white to kind of balance all those. But especially the yellow, the mustardy golden yellow, that would be one of my favorites in the dark blue. But I also do like the periwinkle almost blue. So those are my favorite colors. The next question, does your favorite color hold emotional or magical meaning for me? No, they're just colors I think that are aesthetically pleasing. I'm also a really big fan of a nice rich green. I am a big fan of how colors can evoke certain emotions or thoughts in a person and use that in spell work or in manifestation, but I don't like certain colors because of their magical meanings. My eyes enjoy them. The next question is, do you use substances for divination or meditation, such as flying, oils, herbs, alcohol, that sort of thing? No, I am a sober individual. I don't have a problem with other people using these, but it's not for me. I've made that choice based on instances in my life growing up and as a young adult before, I guess I might still be a young adult. I'm 26. At what point do you become an adult and stop being a young adult? But anyways, so I'm also a part of Reclaiming Witchcraft, which is a group that actually does not allow alcohol or drugs in their magical spaces. That rule was created when Reclaiming was created because there was a huge problem with substance abuse in the witchy community, especially with rituals, it being prolonged or exacerbated that way. So not on a personal level, no I don't, but also I'm part of a community that doesn't, and not all of my magic is done through Reclaiming. It's not at all. But it's just not something that's a part of my life, period. So no, I don't. It was why or why not. So I just explained that, and I don't want to get too into it because it's a very personal thing, but no. 7, what is your favorite part of your practice? Oh gosh, my favorite part? This is going to be really vague, but also weirdly specific. My favorite part is that moment when something happens that you can't easily explain through science or mundane things. That sort of thing. When you get a message from an animal spirit or something like that. Or you do a tarot reading for someone and they only give you the vaguest outline. For example, I had a friend who wanted a reading done. They said they wanted to know the intentions of the entity they've been working with, and I did a reading for them. I didn't know who the entity was. I didn't know any context, just that. And the reading I did for them lined up exactly with who the entity was and all that stuff. So there's that. And then I've done readings for other friends that have been completely magical, not even in the occult sense, but just in the it fits so perfect sense, I guess. And just things in trance work where, I've had experiences that aren't mundane. That's my favorite part, is that moment of outside of the mundane. That definitely has to be my favorite part of witchcraft, and that's a lot of the reason why I practice, is to have that experience, just because it is so amazing. I don't want to live a life without it, if at all possible. So the next question is, what is the least favorite part of your practice? My least favorite part is how hard it is for me to create routines and do things that I would like to do regularly. For example, I don't have a daily meditation practice or even a weekly one. I don't do tarot draws on the regular, on specified intervals or anything like that. I also hate how analytical my mind is with, oh, well, it could be explained away by this, that. Are you sure that actually happened? I don't think that that's possible, For example, how can astral travel be real? How can somebody invoke a god? How can someone aspect a god? That sort of thing. I hate how hard it is for me to create routine, and I hate how skeptical and disbelieving my logical brain is. Those are my least favorite parts of my personal practice. Of the witchcraft and occult pagan community at large, it would be all of the harmful people, especially like racists, that use the craft and, any part of pagan occultness to further their beliefs. That would be just in general. I hate that. I hate that I have to be so picky with the books that I read and with the communities I join that I vet, because things might not be safe for me or others, and I'm not going to perpetuate that. It's not just a pagan occult witchy thing. It's a societal problem. So yeah, that's the thing I hate the most about my personal practice, and then the community at large. How do you feel that your practice has grown over time? I would say my practice has definitely grown a lot since I joined the Reclaiming community. Just being around other people, because up to that point I was an incredibly solitary practitioner. Maybe I'd talk to people on like Tumblr or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you know, social media. But beyond that, I didn't have any friends. I had one friend, one lovely friend who was witchy, but we have a long distance relationship, friendship wise. So, you know, I couldn't be around people a lot of the times and have those discussions. But I feel like being around people, just hearing what they have to say and learning about what they do and what's important to them has really inspired my practice. I also think that finding Norse mythology and that cosmology and that mythologies and that pantheon has really helped me find a path to follow. And that's not to say that I'm only going to look into Norse paganism forever. You know, I'm interested in a lot of things, but I really do think that it helped me to have a path to start on, because up to that point I was very, ooh, this is interesting, ooh, that's interesting, oh, look at that over there, and I'm still kind of like that, but it's not as bad anymore. So I think that definitely helped me find a niche to settle into, at least for now. So yeah, I would definitely recommend finding community in whatever way you can. Obviously, it's a little bit different now with the pandemic. There's not in-person meetings as much, or really at all. But if you can find a Discord server of like-minded practitioners, or, you know, find a good community on whatever social media platform you prefer, or locally, it could be a really great way to, you know, start really thinking about your practice and improving it and strengthening it just by hearing what other people do and discussing your practice with them. And then finding somewhere to kind of focus your energies, at least for a little while. Even if it's just for a month, you want to learn all about something for a month and then move on to something else. That can be really helpful too. Number 10, is there a show or movie that has inspired your practice? No. I don't watch a lot of scary movies, and honestly, a lot of movies that are witchy or pagan are either just movies I've never seen or are scary, so I've actively avoided them. But there are a lot of books that have inspired me, and a lot of these books I have read after I began my practice, so they've just kind of, they're books I relate to, I guess, almost more than inspiring. Like, yeah, that's how I feel. And obviously I'm going to be talking about fiction books rather than occult reference books, that sort of thing. So The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo is a book that when I read it, I remember reading it as an audiobook from the library and listening to some of the characters talk about why they were involved in magic in that universe, and being like, yes, this is how I feel. You know, this is exactly how I feel. And I resonated with different parts of the book so strongly that I actually went out and bought a copy of the book, even though I rented it from the library, so I bought a copy. And I have those bits marked so I could go back and reread them if I want to. There's another example, and this is a YA book as opposed to an adult fiction book. The Brooklyn Brujas series by Zoraida Cordova. She talks about siblings, sisters who are witches in New York City, and it focuses a lot on their culture. So it's not a culture that I'm a part of. I'm not Hispanic. But it also was such a realistic portrayal of everyday modern magic, obviously with a little bit of a fictional fantasy bent because it was, you know, an urban fantasy book, that it normalized to me, I guess, a lot of that. It's like, hey, yeah, people really do these. And it was obvious that the writer had either done a lot of research or was a part of that community on her own, because it was very obvious that she understood what she was talking about. So those, I think, are the two, well, technically 4, because there's 3 books in that series, plus The Ninth House, that come to mind first. But those are some examples of books that have inspired me. I'm sure there are others that I just can't think of at the moment. And then obviously there are books like devotional books or books that are references that have inspired me, but that's kind of obvious. You read them for that reason. Question 11 is, do you have a familiar? No, I don't. I've never had a familiar. My cat Persephone, who I had as a child, was kind of interested in what I did. I didn't start looking and learning about witchcraft until I was probably 19 or 20. Maybe a little older than that, but I still lived at home and she was still alive, and she was, you know, kind of interested in what I was doing, like, human, why smelly stuff over there, that sort of thing. But my cat now, Ravioli, he is very interested in my magic, but he's interested in everything I do. Like, I will be sitting at my altar, I sit on the floor, my altar's over there, and he'll come and sit on my lap, or he'll knock things off the altars. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that means he's your familiar, or that's a sign of him being your familiar. No, he's just my baby. He's very, you know, very nosy, very baby. But no, I don't have a familiar. I do have a black cat though. Ravioli's not a black cat, it's his sister Cassie. So, you know, you got that witchy vibe going on. Are there any YouTube channels I would recommend? Yes, of course, there's so many. Let me think here. We've got Jackson Crawford, if you're interested in Norse myth and literature at all. He's not a pagan channel, but he does a lot of good work, and if you're interested in those things, I would highly recommend him. He's also really funny. He's got a very dry, wry sense of humor, and I kind of love it because that's my sense of humor as well. There's Ocean Keltoy. He does a lot with Norse paganism and talking about different deities. Arvi Harger, again, Norse paganism. His videos are very long, so they're the kind of thing you put on maybe while you're doing some work and you listen to him really examine different aspects of Norse mythology, of different paganisms, different aspects of paganism. And he's done a lot of really interesting videos on the runes, talking about what they mean, and then diving into the other associations and just kind of spreading out slowly and then coming back to where he was, that sort of thing. Kellyanne Maddox, of course, I would recommend her videos. The Stitchin' Witch, Jess, she's a very enjoyable listen. She does talk about things other than paganism and witchcraft. She does do knitting videos every once in a while, which I enjoy, hence the name, The Stitchin' Witch. But I love hearing her book reviews and just hearing about things that are inspiring her, because it feels like talking to a friend. There are so many, and I'm not going to list all of them now because I'd be here forever. I do enjoy Chaotic Witch Aunt's content. She does a really good job with her research. All of the people that I've listed out do a good job with research. There's also Cute Witch 772, my friend Ember. They are really great. I love their stuff. I'm a little bit biased because I'm friends with them in real life, but they're offline. I guess it's online. I'm friends with them, so I'm a little bit biased, but there's also their content. Who else? Like I said, there's so many people. That Witch Tasha, obviously, the person that I got this video idea from. Her content's pretty great. We're gonna stop there for now because I could just go on forever and ever and ever, but I don't know, I can't stop. I gotta give you a few more. Another good one is Okani Luna. She does a lot of really interesting tarot videos. It's not always videos that I particularly am interested in because I'm not huge into astrology, but they're very useful if you are interested, and she does a lot of other really great tutorial videos. There's also Shamanic Arwek Priestess. I like her content as well. Alright, now we're done. I could keep going, but I'm cutting myself off here. Let's see what the next question is. The next question is, name something that you must do daily for your mental or emotional well-being or your practice. Well, like I said before, I have a really hard time starting routines. One thing I do daily is I journal every night. I don't know if that necessarily helps my mental health, but it certainly doesn't hurt it. You know, regular things like hygiene, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. Weekly, I put out new offerings of water to the ancestors and on Brigid's altar. That's not daily, but that's weekly. I do that every Friday. That's really it. I would love to start a daily, like, 1-card draw. I used to do that when I was in college. I'd draw a card every day, but I was never too consistent. I do it for a couple months and then stop. So yeah, I don't really have any daily practices other than basic, you know, making sure I eat, brush my teeth, shower, get enough sleep, that sort of thing. Well, they are pretty mundane. I suppose you definitely could make them magical if you wanted to. Different things. I have recently started writing down my dreams every night because I want to learn about lucid dreaming, and I think that writing down dreams can be important. Definitely from a magical sense, you can, you know, receive messages that way. If that's something in your practice, something that calls to you, you can ask for those. But I also think that for me, a lot of my trauma in life comes out in my dreams. Like my body, my mind is clearly working through the trauma that I have experienced in my dreams. So I think it's kind of important for me to keep track of that sort of stuff. But I'd love to have more magical rituals and things I did daily, but again, it's very hard for me to do, and I'm definitely working on it. But it's a slow process, and I think that's a good thing, because if you try and add too many new things to your life, you're not going to be very successful. That Witch Taya actually has a really good video on this. I'll leave it linked below or up top or somewhere about regular witchy practices that you can watch, and she has a good question that you can ask yourself, and it's helped me decide what I needed to do as a practitioner, and part of that was the weekly offerings, like I've mentioned. So the next one is, what is something that started as an obstacle but you now see as a blessing? This is hard. I should have thought about this one beforehand. It was something that I didn't feel like I could really do, but I started to realize how I needed to, and it was important to me both as a person and as a practitioner. And the things I do in my ancestor practice are probably not what a lot of people do, I don't think. I took a DNA test. That was important. I've spent a lot of time cataloging family members, ancestors, recent ancestors, mostly on my father's side because I have more information about that, but I've also done a little with my mother's side. That was one of the issues, was that she didn't know anything about her heritage or her cultural identity, and that's kind of how white supremacy is. It erases all of that. Like, to be part of the in-group, you have to erase your cultural identity and just be white. So starting to back away from that and finding out my cultural identity has been really important, as well as doing genealogy work and contacting distant relatives has been really fun, and finding out what they know and things like that. So yeah, I would say it wasn't really something I considered an obstacle. It was just something I didn't want to do, that I didn't feel connected to, and now it's one of the parts of my practice I engage in the most. And actually, this is a little bit of a tangent, but something I saw today on Instagram, which I will link to if I can find it, was too many people focus on being a good descendant rather than being a good ancestor, or a dutiful descendant instead of a good ancestor for their descendants. And I think for me, I'm trying to be a good descendant, or trying to be a good ancestor, a good future ancestor, by being a good descendant. I need to learn from what my ancestors have done and said and believed, and A, heal any trauma that I can, and B, learn from them and try not to perpetuate the cycles of oppression and abuse that my ancestors perpetuated. So yeah, there was something else I was going to talk about, but I can't remember what it was now that I've gone on this whole tangent and very personal, thought-provoking, at least for me, not rant, but just tangent, I guess. I guess if I remember what else it was I was going to say, I'll add it back in here later when I edit, but I can't think of it right now. Number 15 is, what do you prefer, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok? Probably YouTube. I like YouTube. I like watching YouTube videos. Instagram is definitely less of a time commitment if I want to post there, so that's nice. Facebook, I absolutely hate Facebook. I do not use Facebook. I have Facebook accounts that are there if I need them for different things, but I don't use it. I don't go out of my way to be on it. TikTok, I have a TikTok and I do occasionally post to it, but because of a lot of my anxiety that I have, it's kind of, I don't want to say ruined TikTok for me, but it's definitely made me really hesitant to get on TikTok and interact with that content there. So I'm slowly working my way back into it, but my brain's being funky about it, so I definitely prefer YouTube. What do you feel is missing from the witchy community? I feel like, I forgot about my coffee. I think the witchy community at large is missing, perhaps, the word that comes to mind is accountability. I don't know if that's the right word. I guess it is. I think we need to be more self-aware of what we say and what we do and how it can affect others as a group. I'm including myself in this. I've seen people give advice on witchcraft where it meets mental health and doctors, and it's very clear they're speaking through their trauma and they haven't worked through it yet, or haven't identified it perhaps. I think there are a lot of people that make flippant comments that are hurtful to other people, maybe regarding race or ethnicity or religion. And I think that people need to be held accountable for that. And I think that we need to be aware that when we share information, we need to be aware where it's coming from. That's one of my pet peeves, is when people just share things that are really common. Like, for example, the 9 Noble Virtues. Those were written by white supremacists. And they're just something that's, you know, oh, this is a normal Norse pagan thing. You know, maybe it's modern. I don't know whether people say it's old or not. I know that's another thing that drives me crazy, is when people say, this is ancient. It's like, no, it was created in the 80s. So yeah, I think accountability, but I think also there needs to be connection in some ways. I think that a lot of times people who post, even on the internet, that have big followings, and I'm not talking about parasocial relationships, because that's a whole other thing. I feel like people forget that we are a community in ways, and we can help each other, rather than just maybe demanding things of people because they're on the internet, or, you know, expecting emotional labor from people. These are really deep thoughts that I'm having, that I have had before. And I do find a lot of this, again, to mention reclaiming, I've been part of groups that have done work regarding these things, and I have found that the type of community that has been created in those spaces has been really, really powerful and really healthy, or at least on its way to being really healthy and really powerful. And it's something that I miss when I'm in the witchy community at large. I think we're very fragmented, and we don't think about how we affect others, both in terms of accountability and how we are in fact connected to people, even if, you know, we're at home talking to a camera by ourselves, and we're solitary practitioner, you know. I think we forget how connected we can be. So that was another long, rambly question-answer session. I hope that made some sense. Number 17, how much space do you use for supplies and spell work? This room here that I'm in now is actually a little nook that's off of our bedroom, my girlfriend and I. When we saw this house, this was like a makeup area for the woman that lived here. And this area where I'm sitting to the other edge of the wall is big enough that you could fit like a vanity in here, maybe like a dresser or something, or a small desk. So it's like maybe like 5 feet wide by 7 feet long. So it's nice. It's got a window here, a radiator. There's a built-in dresser actually in the wall behind you where I store, it's a 3-drawer smallish dresser kind of thing that's just built into the wall. I store almost all of my altar supplies, herbs, that sort of thing. Well, I keep most of my herbs downstairs, but there are herbs I don't use for cooking that if I use, either they're not edible or I just don't cook with them, and it's specifically for witchcraft. I keep them in there along with all my candles and all that jazz. This bookshelf is full of witchy supplies, but really I'm not beyond this room unless, you know, there are books kind of spread everywhere around the house, but I don't necessarily store them there. I'm just messy. So yeah, this is my space. It works really well, and it was kind of one of the reasons we bought this house. We knew when we saw it, I knew, you know, actually my girlfriend knew before me that this was going to be my witchy area. Yeah, I thought she could have a makeup room in here, but she's like, no, I don't do enough makeup to warrant that. It is your, you know, it's your witchy area. All right, so the battery died. The sun's going down a little bit. It's gonna be, the lighting's a little funky. I apologize, but I want to finish this tonight. How many altars do you have in your home? More than I thought. I'm gonna move this book. The radiator's on, and now I'm paranoid that it's gonna catch on fire, even though it's nowhere near as hot as it would need to be. So we have my main altar right there, which is a coffee table that has been around for as long as I can remember. Like, it was something in my childhood. So there's an altar there. That's like my main altar, although it's honestly probably the one I use the least. I have my Loki and Segan altar / shrine here. Most of the stuff's for Loki because he is the deity that I've worked with the longest. To my left, I believe it would be your right, is Brigid's shrine / altar. It's just on a little side table. So that's 3. Then we have the ancestor altar downstairs, which is the biggest. It is a roll top desk that has been in my family for a long time. it was my grandfather's originally, and my mom refinished it when we moved in here, took it all apart and stripped it and, you know, put everything back together. So it has a lot of meaning in that way. It's huge. It's very cumbersome, but I love it. It's not nearly full the way I would like it to be yet. I'm still starting to put things on it as I gather things. It has things from my girlfriend's family on it too as well, but not as much, but it's okay. So that's 4, and then we have, I call it the descendant altar, but it's kind of like a family love altar. It has pictures of all of my nibblings, nieces, and nephews on it. It has cards, mostly from my girlfriend's family, stuff like that. So that is for, you know, people that are in our lives now that we love, not the people in the past. So that's 5, and then 6 is my kind of kitchen altar to Brigid. It's not so much an altar as it is just a space to bring her into the kitchen because she's a big part of what I do in the kitchen. So it's kind of an altar. It's got a candle, it's got a space for offerings for her if I want to give her a cup of coffee or some cream, rather than bring it up here and put it, you know, up here where I'm going to forget about it. I put it in the kitchen. So let's say that's like 4.5 or 5. Or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 5.5 or 6. And then I have a money bowl that I consider an altar in of itself, or a shrine in of itself, that is downstairs by our front door. So 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. As long as you're willing to accept that my money bowl is in of itself an altar. That's a very small one, but to me it's an altar. So 7 altars in our house, and honestly, I like it that way. I like a lot of small things around here and there. And like I said, the main one's the one I use the least. It's mainly a place for spell work to sit while I'm doing it. There are a lot of decorations on it as well. It's kind of, it helps me get into the vibe, I suppose. And if I have plans for something, like I have a candle that I have yet, a spell candle yet that I have to do, I have it set there so I remember it. It's a very functional thing. It's not so much a pretty thing. I do try to make it pretty though. It's definitely very much a thrift store chic type thing. We have number 20. Do you prefer tarot, runes, oracle cards, or a pendulum? Tarot probably. Then would come pendulum. That's nice for, I like using it for talking to spirits and deities. I find sometimes you just want a yes or no type answer, so I do enjoy using a pendulum. I have one general use pendulum, and then I have one specifically for Loki, and then there's a necklace over there for Segan that I use as a pendulum. It's just a, you know, a pendulum-ish shaped thing on a chain that is a necklace, but I use it as a pendulum. And then runes, I would like to be more involved with runes. I've made my own set. I took a lot of time last spring, like over the course of 3 months to make them. Sorry, my phone vibrated, and I have it here, of course, because it has the list of questions on it. So I made them out of a stick from a tree. I had permission from the tree. It was a lightning struck tree. I burnt the runes into the slices, which I cut myself. I blooded them. You know, I did the whole thing, and then I sealed them with an oil. So they're very beautiful and they're very powerful feeling, but I don't use them. And I do understand runes pretty well. I use them a lot in, I have a lot of decks that incorporate runes. Maybe not a lot of decks. I guess it's just the one that incorporates runes, but I guess I just like to know about them. I'll say I use them and stuff, but I really don't. I will occasionally use the runes that I have made as an association type thing. For example, if I'm working with Odin, I might use Ansus, because that is the rune that's associated with him. Or for Loki, I have a Kaunaz rune necklace that I wear for him, because that is the rune I associate with him, because it's fire, and you know, he's fire. And I use them, I write out deities' names in runes, that is, well, Norse deities. So I connect with them in a lot of ways, and I like learning about them, but I don't use them. So it's definitely tarot. I have, I guess, technically 2 oracle decks. I have an oracle deck for Brigid, and then I have the Yggdrasil Norse divination cards. And I thought they were more like tarot when I asked for them for my birthday last year, I think. But they're their own divination like system the author has created. It's similar to tarot, but honestly I think it's more complicated. I've used them a few times. I do really enjoy them. So I guess it's an oracle deck. I wouldn't really consider... What is the definition of an oracle deck? Is an oracle deck just a deck that's not tarot, or does it not... Is there a specific type of system? I don't know. But definitely tarot. I love tarot. I have many tarot decks. Maybe not many compared to some people, but I've got around probably 10. And I don't do tarot as much as I would like to, but I especially love doing tarot for other people. It's useful for myself as well, but I like doing tarot for other people the best. So then the next question we have is, are you out of the broom closet? Somewhat, kinda. My girlfriend knows and is very supportive. She was the first person I told. I'm usually pretty open about it with my friends. I don't make a point to be like, hey, guess what? I'm an eclectic Norse pagan and a reclaiming witch. But I make art about some of the Sabbats. I've made art about Yule and stuff like that, and you know, put it out there online, not just, you know, in a witchy sense, but like here, you know, this is a greeting card that's for sale in my shop, you know, that sort of thing. I talk about deities sometimes with friends if the, you know, it's an appropriate, it's not usually appropriate because none of my friends that aren't witchy, like aren't already witches, they aren't witchy, I guess. But I don't, you know, hide it from them. I may mention, oh, you know, I'm doing something for Imbolc, or I'm doing something for Yule, or, you know, I'm going to do a tarot reading. Do you want me to read your cards? That sort of thing. But my family doesn't know. I think my girlfriend's family might. I think I just spilled coffee on myself. Lovely. I'm going to set this down. And we're going to turn the light back on. Oh my gosh, this is turning into a mess. I need to wrap it up. My girlfriend's family, especially her sister, probably kind of has an inkling, but I know my family personally, I don't want to tell them because they are very Christian in their own ways, into their own degrees, but I don't feel like having that conversation. It was hard enough coming out with like my gender and sexuality. I don't feel like trying to come out about religion to them. The way I look at it is, my family's been in my house, they've seen my altars. If they have questions, they can ask. Because my family is very much of the, if we don't ask, it doesn't exist. So I'm not hiding it from them, but I haven't had the conversation, and I'm not going to unless they ask about it. Because you don't need to, you know, be out of the broom closet. You can just leave it. I work for myself, so I don't have to be out at work. If I were to get a like 9-to-5 job for a company in the future, which I definitely will do. So let's put it this way, when I have a 9-to-5 job in the future, where I work for a company, you know, it's not just for myself. I don't think it's something that I'm gonna be like, hey, guess what? I'm a pagan, you know? That's not gonna be my fun fact at the company icebreaker. But, you know, I'm not gonna make it a priority to not wear my jewelry. I thankfully do not, unless something drastically changes, will not be working in a field where it is a big deal for me to express my religion, you know, by wearing jewelry or by veiling, or, you know, I don't know if I would request a day off because capitalism, you know, they'd be more upset about the fact that I wanted a day off than it's a religion thing, you know. So, yeah, I'm in and out, I guess. And it's, for me, my religion, my spirituality, my paganism is so personal that I don't necessarily want to share a lot of it. Like, obviously I enjoy talking with all of you. I'm here on the internet doing that. You know, I write book reviews. I, you know, post things on Instagram. But so much of what I do and what I experience is very personal. So I may share it with close friends, people that I've known for a while, my girlfriend, that sort of thing. But it doesn't need to be out there for the world to know, you know? So, yeah. All that to say, I'm kind of out of the broom closet. Not quite. And then 22. Who are you going to tag in this video? Well, the answer to that is very simple. It's anyone who wants to do it. I want to hear. If you've already done it, feel free to tag me in it. I'd love to hear. I'd love to see what you've done. And this is a monster of a video, so I'm going to wrap it up now before it gets any darker and the lighting gets any worse. Like I said, my name's Noah. I go by the Day by Day Pagan pretty much everywhere on the internet if you're interested in my witchiness. I have a WordPress blog where I do book reviews. It's under the same name. Like I said, I have TikTok, don't really use it. Did I say Instagram? I have an Instagram. There's this YouTube channel, obviously. I always have such a hard time wrapping up these videos. What else? Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble, and my mouth is starting to like not do the words thing very well, so I better go. So I hope you all are having a great morning, afternoon, night, whatever it is. I hope it's a good one. So thank you for listening. I can't wait to hear what you all have to say in the comments. Bye!